All right, let's talk about one of the biggest, most debated topics in global real estate, Dubai. You see it, you hear it all the time, right? The constant construction, the new towers popping up, these incredibly ambitious projects. And it always leads to one single, persistent question.
Is the market just saturated? Are they building way too much, way too fast? Is this whole thing a bubble that's just waiting to pop? And look, that's a totally valid concern for anyone thinking about investing or even moving there. But what if we're looking at this from the completely wrong angle? What if all this supply isn't a problem, but actually a calculated part of a much, much bigger plan?
So, let's just chew on that idea for a second. This quote, coming from an industry insider, completely reframes the whole debate. It suggests that what looks like a crazy amount of oversupply from the outside is actually strategic. It's preparation for a massive, planned wave of growth. It's not about meeting today's demand, it's about building for tomorrow. Okay, so to really get our heads around this opportunity, we have to look way beyond just real estate. We need to look at the entire economic roadmap for Dubai. The government isn't just crossing its fingers and hoping for growth. No, they have a concrete, incredibly ambitious plan to engineer it. They're not just trying to continue a trend, they're literally aiming to double it. And this is the headline number that just makes you go, wow. 32 trillion dirhams. That's the target for Dubai's economy over the next 10 years. Now, to put that into perspective, the economy over the last 10 years was about 15.5 trillion dirhams. So we're not talking about a small little incremental increase here. This is a plan to more than double the entire economic output. A goal this massive isn't just wishful thinking. It has to be built on some seriously solid foundations. So how in the world do you double an entire economy in just a decade? Well, you don't do it by accident, that's for sure. The plan really rests on three specific, powerful drivers that are all designed to work together to fuel this, well, unprecedented expansion. Let's break them down. And here they are. First, a massive boost in tourism. Second, a huge strategic push for foreign direct investment, or FDI. And third, a projected boom in population. Now, each one of these pillars is a huge story in itself. And each one has a direct, profound impact on the demand for real estate. So let's dive into each one, starting with tourism. The target they've set is to attract 40 million visitors every single year. Just let that number sink in for a moment. That is an absolutely incredible influx of people who all need a place to stay. This immediately creates huge demand in the short-term rental market, in hotels, and the whole service economy that supports tourism. But this isn't just about people coming for a vacation. See, Dubai's strategy is way more sophisticated. They're actively attracting the best healthcare institutions to drive what's called medical tourism. They're bringing in top-tier universities for educational tourism. And crucially, they're expanding trade tourism by opening up brand new economic corridors with places like Latin America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. So these aren't just one-week visitors. These are people coming for extended stays, for business, for school, creating a consistent and really diverse demand for housing. Okay, let's jump to the second pillar. Foreign direct investment, or FDI. The goal here is to add 30 billion dirhams in FDI every year. But just like with tourism, it's not just about the number. The type of investment is what really matters here. Now, here's a really key distinction. A lot of places attract what's called brownfield investment. Think of it as short-term plug-and-play money. It comes in to take advantage of what's already there and can leave just as quickly. Dubai, on the other hand, is targeting greenfield investment. This is the good stuff. This is long-term, committed capital. This is companies building new headquarters from the ground up, investing in R&D, and, most importantly, creating high-quality, white-collar jobs that attract skilled professionals who need a place to live for the long haul. And that brings us perfectly to the third and, honestly, the most direct pillar impacting the real estate market. All this economic activity, all this tourism, all this investment, it's all designed to attract one thing: people. And the projections for Dubai's population growth are, frankly, staggering. Let's just take a moment and really absorb these numbers. The population is expected to more than double in the next decade, heading towards nearly 7 million people. This just brilliantly illustrates the scale of the government's vision. They're planning for a city that is significantly larger than the one that exists today. So here's the crucial point. When you break down those big projections, it means the city needs to figure out how to house somewhere between 250,000 and 300,000 new residents every single year. Suddenly, the question isn't, are they building too much? The question becomes, Can they possibly build enough? This one single data point turns the entire oversupply argument completely on its head. But attracting people is only half the battle. Plenty of cities can bring people in, but the real measure of success, the real secret sauce, is whether they actually stay. So what are the factors, beyond just the economic numbers, that make Dubai a place where people actually want to put down roots and build a life? Well, it really comes down to this unique combination of things. The unmatched safety and security, that's a massive draw for families. Its evolution into a true global business hub is another. That strategic time zone is a game changer. It lets you work seamlessly with markets in Asia, Europe, and the Americas, all in the same business day. And then there's the world-class connectivity. You can get to almost any major city in the world with ease. These are powerful, powerful magnets for both lifestyle and business. Now, here's a really fascinating concept. We all hear about immigration data, right? How many people are coming into a country? Governments love to shout about that, but very few ever talk about immigration data, the number of people who choose to leave. And you could argue this is a much more powerful indicator because it tells you how happy the people who already live there are with the policies, the lifestyle, and just the whole environment. And this is the result. The UAE has a 99.3% resident retention rate. I mean, that is an absolutely incredible number. It means that once people come, they don't want to leave. They're happy with the government, the safety, the whole ecosystem. And this super high retention rate acts as a force multiplier on that population growth, making sure the demand for housing isn't just temporary, but stable and long-term. So let's tie all of this back to our original question. We have this clear plan for economic and population growth that's creating massive organic demand. But there's another factor at play that makes this current moment particularly interesting for an investor. You see, beyond the demand side of the equation, there are pressures on the supply side. Because of global tariff wars and all kinds of supply chain issues, the cost of raw materials and construction is going up. And this isn't about developers just trying to increase their profit margins. It's about the fundamental cost to actually build something getting more expensive. What that means is that properties built in the future will almost certainly cost more than properties being sold today. So here's the big takeaway. When you combine these three forces, a massive planned population boom driving demand, rising construction costs creating upward price pressure, and a clear, long-term government vision providing stability, well, the argument for an opportunity window becomes very, very compelling. And that so-called oversupply starts to look a lot more like a necessary preparation for everything that's coming. And that really leaves us with a final thought to mull over. The vision here isn't just to be another major city. The goal is to be the most recommended city in the world. That is not a short-term goal, and it reframes this entire discussion. Perhaps all those cranes you see on the skyline, maybe they aren't just building for the people arriving next year. Maybe they're building for the needs of a city that will look vastly different and much, much larger a generation from now.